1999 through 2007 Mercedes G500 radiator replacement. I'm Brian from How to Automotive. I'm going to walk you step by step through the process of replacing the radiator. This is the part numbers that I'm using in this video. It's a factory replacement radiator. I will link the radiator and the coolant up in the description of the video. We're going to get started by removing the front half of the air cleaner here. So you're just going to lift up and then pull towards you and set aside. Now just under the front bumper, we're going to remove the skid plate below. I'm lifting it up on my hoist, but if you're doing this at home, there's plenty of room to crawl under here to remove it. I'm using a little 3/8 drive impact gun to remove the skid plate. Once you get the skid plate removed, on the passenger side of the radiator is the petcock so we can drain the coolant. So I used a little flat blade screwdriver like this, kind of angled it in there like this, got it onto the petcock and gave it a little twist counterclockwise. And as you twist it, it starts draining the coolant out. So you want to have a bucket ready to catch it. Now on the bottom of the radiator here on the fan shroud, the cooler line is mounted on right here with a 10mm bolt. So we're going to remove that bolt and then the cooler line will be free from the fan shroud. It's going to look like this once you get it unbolted. Now there's two clips we need to pop off. One on the right side of the radiator, on the passenger side right here. So you're going to flare it and pull it towards you. And on the driver's side, you'll also flare it and pull it towards you. You may need to use a flat blade screwdriver to help pry it off. So now that's all done, back up top here, we're going to go ahead and start removing the upper radiator hose. So we're going to remove the clamp here, and then we're going to remove the vent hose here, the vent line here. And then if you follow it back, it's going to be mounted onto a little clip here. You pop it out, follow the vent line back to the bottle, and then remove the clamps and flip both of these hoses out of your way once you get them removed. So I would normally recommend a thermostat replacement also with the radiator. The customer had already done it. If you're doing this, I recommend you change it. There's just two bolts here and here on the thermostat housing here to pull it off and then swap out the thermostat. The next step is going to be to remove the fan and fan clutch here. To do that, it requires a special tool, a spanner wrench like this that hooks on the bolts. I will link this tool up in the description of the video. So the tool will hook on to the bolts, the top of the bolts right here. So you'll hook it on, and once you get it hooked on there, then you'll use a second wrench. That's 36mm in size. I will link both of these up in the description. So now you're going to hook the wrench onto the bolt portion of the fan clutch, and you're going to pull counterclockwise with the wrench and pull clockwise with the spanner tool, and that'll loosen up the fan. Now you should be able to just spin it off like this. And when you get to the very end, you want to be a little careful not to let it just spin completely off and fall down. You can break the fan blades if it falls. So once you get it unbolted, I'm just going to let it rest down inside. Now we need to remove some clips on the fan shroud to get the fan shroud and blades out together. So first thing we're going to do is remove the clip on the fan shroud right here towards the driver's side. And then there's a clip in the middle, and then the clip on the just under the radiator neck here. You're going to push it towards the driver's side, and that'll pop off. As you're removing these, be careful not to fling them. They're easy to launch them and lose them. And using a flat blade screwdriver will help get them out also. So now that we got the three clips removed, if you look down here on the fan shroud, it's got a little slot that it sits on the radiator. So I want you to pay attention to that. So when it goes to go back in, you're aware of that. So now you're just going to lift the fan and the fan shroud straight up and out at the same time. So now that you got the fan shroud out, you got access to the lower radiator hose. So go ahead and loosen up the clamp here. And once you get the hose loose, you can go ahead and wiggle it off and just tuck it off to the side. Now that you got the lower hose off, the next step is to remove the cooler lines. So they're held on with 19mm nuts. So you're going to loosen the nut on the top one first, and then once you get the top one removed, then you'll have access to the bottom one down here. You'll remove those two cooler lines. And to do that, I just use a standard open-end 19mm wrench, crack them free, and then you can just spin them off. So now we're going to take off the two brackets on the top of the radiator holding the radiator in. I'm using this little impact driver here. It's an amazing little tool. I will link up all these tools that I'm using in this video in the description also. That way if you're interested, if you see anything you like, you can find those there. So once you get the 10mm mounting bolts removed, then you can just lift the bracket off like this. Also, you want to take that little rubber grommet below it off with it too. So you want to pull that rubber grommet off with it. Right here on the radiator is a grounding strap. You want to go ahead and remove that grounding strap. Now you're ready to lift the radiator straight up and out of the vehicle. So you'll just take your time and lift it straight up. And once we get it out, we're going to swap over some parts to our new radiator and match it all up. So what I like to do is lay the new radiator and the old radiator side by side and double check that everything is matched up. And then sometimes the new radiators don't come with all the clips and brackets that the old one has, so you have to transfer them over from the old one, such as this little clip here that held the cooler line on the bottom. So you're going to transfer that over to the new radiator, and then you're just going to go around the radiator, making sure that all the clips and stuff that are on the old radiator need to be transferred over to the new radiator. So now we're going to go back in. I wanted to point out these little nipples on the bottom of the radiator. They mount onto the bottom of the frame down there, and they have these rubber grommets. You want to make sure that those rubber grommets are in there and didn't fall out in the process. Also, you want to make sure that your cooler lines are tucked out of the way, so when you go back in, it goes in nice and easily. Now we're going to lower the radiator straight back in, and we're going to stab those little nipples on the bottom and those little grommets on the bottom of the frame down there. This is the portion of the job where it takes patience. You want to go slow and make sure you're not snagging on anything or anything's damaging or making contact with the fins of the radiator. Now that the radiator's back in, we want to take the little ground strap that we took off, and we want to reconnect that to the radiator, and then put the little brackets with the rubber grommets on. So you'll position those on and then start all the bolts. Now you can reach down here and install the lower radiator hose onto the neck and tighten up the clamp. After that, you can install the lower cooler hose here. So you'll run it in until it's nice and snug, and about a quarter turn or so more, and that's all you need. You don't have to bear down on these. And then after you get the lower one done, you can put the top one on and go ahead and start that and tighten that up. Now we're ready to install the fan and fan shroud. The bottom portion of the fan shroud has these little nipples here on, and the sides of it have these little slots here. They fit in the bottom of the radiator down here at the bottom of the frame, and then the slots are on the side of the radiator right here. So you got to, when you put this in, you got to make it slide in nice and tight against the radiator to catch all those little brackets. So as you see here, I'm holding the fan with one hand and the shroud with another hand, and I lower it straight down into position. And then once I get it lowered down into position, then what I'll do is I'll start the fan first. I'll spin the fan onto the water pump. And then once the water pump the fan is installed onto the water pump, then I'll finish securing the fan shroud. You have a little bit of room to move up and down. So once you get the fan spun all the way on, then you can go ahead and tighten it down. So you're going to use your spanner wrench, and you're going to basically flip it over. It's going to look at this angle here, and you're going to hook it on the bolts on the water pump, and then you'll use the 36mm wrench, and you'll pull clockwise and push the spanner wrench counterclockwise to tighten it up. Now you're going to just double check that the fan shroud is in position right and the fan does not rub, and then you can go ahead and install the 3 clips that held the fan onto the radiator. So reinstall those clips. And also I found to help get these clips on is if you take a flat blade screwdriver and kind of put it in between the clip and flare it just a little bit, that helps install the clips. So once you get the fan shroud secured, now you can take the upper hose and reposition it onto the neck and put the clamp on and tighten it up. Next, you'll take the vent hose that went to the top of the radiator there and put that on and install the clamp. And then you also want to secure it back into the little holding brackets. So now you're ready to install the top engine cover. So if you flip it over upside down, you'll see these clips at the back here. They slide in here, and then these clips go downwards, so they pop on the corners downwards. So you'll flip it over and you'll slide it in to the little slots first, and then you may have to flex the corners to kind of get them to go down in there. And once you get them all lined up, you just push it down until it locks into place. After that, we're going to go back underneath the vehicle, and we're going to put the clips on that held the radiator to the bottom of the frame. So you'll put those clips back in, and I used a screwdriver to help push them on. Now you can take the little cooler line that bolted to the bottom of the radiator. You can go ahead and put that 10mm bolt back on and re-secure the cooler line. After that, we're going to lift up the skid plate and bolt the skid plate back into position. Now we're ready to fill up the coolant reservoir. We're going to fill it up with 50-50 mix Mercedes-Benz approved coolant up to the full mark on the side of the bottom. Then we're going to start the vehicle and let it run for about 10 or 15 minutes. You want the heater on low, no AC on or anything like that. And we're going to run the car until the thermostat opens up. You'll feel the upper radiator hose get hot and warm, and then the coolant level may drop down, so you may have to top the coolant level back off. You don't want to overfill it. There's a little hash mark on the side of the bottle you want to fill it up to. And so you'll fill it up to that line, and then that'll complete the job of replacing the radiator. I will link up the radiator, the coolant, and all the tools that I use in this video in the description. I'm Brian Essa from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos, encourage you to subscribe, invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again for watching.